I mean, Lego, and that's what this is about. She's landed a Lego sponsorship. I mean, Lego may as well just taken that money and just lit it on fire. Just light it aflame. Because Paige Bueckers not drawing anybody to buy Legos except for a very...
That reaction, right there, tells you everything you need to know about what's really happening in the WNBA right now. Because we just watched someone call out the exact playbook that's been running all season. And the evidence, it's not subtle anymore. When Lego announces a partnership with Paige Bueckers and the headline reads, "Untenant off-court impact," we need to talk about what that word actually means.
Act on the WNBA. Really? Paige Bueckers already one of the most hyped and highly anticipated players in the WNBA years before she was actually drafted number 1 overall in the 2025 draft. Bueckers' skills on the court are undeniable. Her potential to continue to grow is vast. My goodness. Okay. But Bueckers has been making off-the-court moves that are unprecedented for a WNBA player. Okay, let me stop right there.
Let's establish some baseline facts here. The Dallas Wings averaged 7,273 fans per game during Paige Bueckers' rookie season. Their home venue stayed exactly where it was. No upgrades, no moves to bigger arenas. Now contrast that with Caitlin Clark's impact. The Indiana Fever didn't just fill arenas. They got moved to American Airlines Arena, the Mavericks' home court, because demand was that insane. Clark was drawing over 20,000 people consistently, so when we see the word unprecedented attached to Bueckers, we have to ask, unprecedented compared to what? Because the numbers tell a completely different story than these headlines want you to believe.
Unprecedented to who? You've seen how many sponsorships Caitlin Clark's got? Did you see that Nike ad? From anywhere? Last I checked, 50 million views. Come on. Stop it. Stop it. In fact, I don't know that I can handle much more of this BS. The marketability that has continued to be a major factor in Bueckers' professional career as well is, of course, her UConn ties up there. Announced several partnerships like Karma.
Here's where it gets interesting. That Lego partnership announcement? Look at the color scheme in the promotional materials. Those are Iowa Hawkeye colors, black and gold, not Connecticut blue, not Dallas Wings colors. Iowa's colors, the same school Caitlin Clark turned into a ratings phenomenon. Now maybe that's coincidence. Or maybe it reveals something about who these brands actually want to be associated with, even when they're signing someone else. Because here's what we know for certain. Caitlin Clark signed a Nike deal worth $50 million. That's not speculation. That's reported fact. So when we're talking about unprecedented off-court impact in the WNBA, there's really only one player who fits that description.
If you said Caitlin Clark, you got that shit right. Don't let these people blow smoke up your asses, folks. Look at this. A key game against the Fever featuring Bueckers and Caitlin Clark drew 2.1 million viewers on ABC. And then check this out. A Wings game without Clark drew over 1.14 million viewers, indicating strong local and regional interest.
Let's look at the television ratings, because this is where the narrative completely falls apart. When the Dallas Wings played the Indiana Fever in a matchup featuring both Bueckers and Clark, that game drew 2.1 million viewers on ABC. Strong number. But here's the detail that matters. A Wings game without Caitlin Clark, on the other side, drew 1.14 million viewers. The article describing this called it strong local and regional interest. Read that again. Local and regional. Not national, not league-changing. Local interest. That's the language you use when you're trying to make seven-figure attendance averages sound impressive in a league where one player is consistently drawing.
Local and regional interest. By the way, I talk about agenda. There's your agenda. Paige Bueckers. Guess what? She checks the LGBTQ elemental P box. LGBTQ. Who cares? You know what? The Alphabet Mafia box. Along with the Connecticut, the University of Connecticut box.
Now we need to address what's actually being said here without dancing around it. Paige Bueckers checks specific boxes that matter to certain decision makers in media and marketing. She's from the University of Connecticut. That's the UConn pipeline that's dominated WNBA coverage for years. She's in a same-sex relationship with a former teammate. She represents what's being called diversity in multiple categories. And look, none of that should matter when we're talking about who drives ratings, who sells tickets, who moves merchandise. But it clearly does matter to the people making these sponsorship decisions. Because the player who's actually breaking records and changing the financial trajectory of the entire league, she doesn't check those same boxes.
Her former teammate. Think her name's Azzy Fudd? Oh, she's interracial on top of it. Oh, the wokes just literally exploded. Again, folks, the agenda is thick in this league. And I don't know how the hell Caitlin Clark is going to be able to dodge that agenda. Because, I mean, the agenda oozes out in the play with running clotheslines.
Think about what happened on the court during Bueckers' rookie season. We're not talking about tough defense here. We're talking about Caitlin Clark getting clotheslined, getting hit with elbows that looked more like MMA strikes than basketball plays. And the response from the league? Crickets. The response from most WNBA media? Silence. Or worse, justification. That's just physical play. She needs to get used to the professional game. Meanwhile, the player absorbing these hits is the same one who's responsible for the WNBA's television deal improving, for attendance records being shattered, for the entire financial picture of the league looking better than it ever has. But she's not getting protected. She's getting targeted.
Elbows being dropped, unfortunately. I saw this headline. Unprecedented off-court impact, and I was like, the fudge is that? Nah. They're trying to blow that smoke up your ass. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Look, she's got unrivaled to her.
Let's talk about unrivaled, because this is where everything we've been discussing comes into focus. That's the new 3-on-3 league that was supposed to be the WNBA's answer to keeping players stateside during the offseason. Big money involved. Major media coverage. And who's playing in it? Not Caitlin Clark. Not A'ja Wilson. Not Sabrina Ionescu. Not Cameron Brink. Not Flau'jae Johnson. Not Angel Reese. The league starts in 2 days, and outside of hardcore WNBA circles, nobody's talking about it. Nobody's circling it on their calendar. The buzz is non-existent.
No A'ja, no Sabrina, no Sophie, no Angel, and most notably, no Caitlin Clark. No Napheesa Collier now. Unrivaled is Paige Bueckers. Nobody gives a shit about that league. Nobody's talking about it. They start playing in 2 days. Nobody cares. Well, wait a minute now. How many people do you think would have that circled if Caitlin Clark was playing in that league Monday?
But Paige Bueckers is playing in Unrivaled. She's got the whole league essentially to herself in terms of star power, at least from the 2024-2025 rookie class perspective. And the question becomes obvious. How many people would be talking about Unrivaled right now if Caitlin Clark had signed up? How different would the media coverage be? How much more sponsor money would be flowing in? We know the answer. It would be completely different, because one player has proven she can move the deal on a national scale, and the other hasn't. Yet the marketing machine keeps trying to convince us otherwise.
I saw this new sponsorship. And I was like, my. What links we will go to as companies out there to continue to deliver the message. That's right. Continue to deliver the agenda. And nobody fits that agenda better than Paige Bueckers. My goodness.
Here's what we're really witnessing. There's an agenda operating in the WNBA that prioritizes certain narratives over actual results. It prioritizes checking boxes over checking box scores. It prioritizes who fits the preferred demographic model over who's actually putting people in seats, and companies like Lego are participating in this. They're making sponsorship decisions that, from a pure business perspective, make absolutely no sense. You're telling me that Paige Bueckers, who draws 7,073 fans per game on average, is going to move Lego products on a national scale? The Dallas Wings couldn't even get their games moved to a bigger arena, but somehow this is the player who gets the unprecedented off-court impact headline.
Unsubscribing people to channels, turning off their notifications. Videos are continuing to be dropped by your favorite creators and you don't know it. John put a video out yesterday on our Black and White Network channel. Guess what? 1,000 people had to resubscribe to the channel. A popular channel out there named Star Wars Theory, over 1 million subscribers, just randomly starts losing hundreds a day. Has to make a video about it. It was unbelievable, the amount of people that had to resubscribe to his channel.
Let's be clear about what unprecedented actually looks like in the WNBA right now. It looks like Caitlin Clark's $50 million Nike deal, the largest in WNBA history. It looks like Indiana NBA games being moved to NBA arenas because the demand is that high. It looks like television ratings that are double or triple what they were the previous season. It looks like sold-out crowds in every city the Fever visit. It looks like merchandise sales that dwarf everyone else in the league. That's unprecedented. A Lego sponsorship for a player who hasn't proven she can draw on a national level? That's not unprecedented. That's agenda-driven marketing. And here's what makes this whole situation so frustrating for people who actually care about the WNBA's growth. The league finally has a player who can be a mainstream star. Someone who casual sports fans actually know. Someone who drives real business results that benefit everyone in the league. Higher salary caps, better travel conditions, more media coverage, improved facilities, all of that flows from having a player who can capture national attention. The WNBA has that player right now, but instead of protecting her, promoting her, building around her success, we're watching the league and its media partners try to manufacture equivalent status for players who haven't earned it with their market impact. Nobody's saying Paige Bueckers isn't talented. She's an excellent basketball player who had a strong rookie season, but talent and marketability are two different things. On-court skill and off-court impact are two different measurements. And when we're honest about those measurements, when we look at actual attendance figures and television ratings and merchandise sales, there's one player who's in a completely different stratosphere from everyone else. Pretending otherwise doesn't help the WNBA. It just creates resentment among fans who can see the obvious disparity between the narrative being pushed and the reality they're witnessing. Think about the position this puts Caitlin Clark in. She's delivering unprecedented results for the league. That word actually applies to her. She's bringing in fans who never watched women's basketball before. She's creating revenue opportunities that benefit every player in the WNBA through the collective bargaining agreement. And in return, she's getting physically targeted on the court with minimal protection from officials. She's getting diminished in media coverage that tries to spread credit around to players who aren't having the same impact, and she's watching sponsorship dollars and headline attention go to players whose market value doesn't justify it. How long do you think that's sustainable? How long before Clark or her representation starts asking why she should continue carrying water for a league that won't acknowledge what she's actually doing for it? Because make no mistake, that $50 million Nike deal isn't coming from Nike's charity budget. That's coming because Nike's business analysts looked at the data and determined that Caitlin Clark can move product on a scale that justifies that investment. They're not making that deal because she checks certain demographic boxes. They're making it because she makes them money. That's the fundamental disconnect we're seeing play out. The WNBA and many of its media partners are operating on a model that prioritizes social and political considerations over pure market performance. Meanwhile, major corporations like Nike are operating on a model that prioritizes whoever can actually deliver return on investment. Those two approaches are colliding, and the result is these absurd situations where we get headlines about unprecedented off-court impact for a player whose actual off-court impact is demonstrably modest compared to the player who's actually changing the game. The Lego deal is just the latest example, but it's a particularly telling one because Lego isn't some niche brand trying to reach a specific demographic. It's a massive global company that sells to families, to kids, to adult collectors. Their customer base is about as broad as it gets in consumer products. So when they make a partnership decision, you'd expect them to partner with whoever has the broadest appeal, whoever can reach the most potential customer. Instead, they're partnering with a player whose appeal has been proven to be primarily local and regional. That's not a business decision, that's an agenda decision. And look, people can argue about whether that agenda is good or bad, whether it's justified or not, but what's not arguable is that it exists. The evidence is right there in the attendance figures, in the ratings data, in the sponsorship announcements that don't align with market performance. The WNBA has an agenda about who it wants to be the face of the league, and that agenda doesn't align with who's actually driving the business results. The question is, what happens next? Does the market eventually force a correction? Do sponsors start demanding actual return on investment rather than participation in a social agenda? Or does the WNBA continue down this path, potentially alienating the mainstream audience that Caitlin Clark brought in? Because those fans aren't stupid. They can see what's happening. They can see their favorite player getting treated differently, getting covered differently, getting credited differently than the results justify. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think Lego's partnership with Paige Bueckers makes business sense based on her actual market impact? Or is this exactly what it looks like? A company prioritizing agenda over ROI? And more importantly, how long can the WNBA sustain this approach before it starts damaging the very growth that Caitlin Clark created? Because from where I'm sitting, we're watching a league fumble the biggest opportunity it's ever had. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're tired of sports media pretending not to notice what's obvious to everyone watching, hit that subscribe button because we're gonna keep talking about it.